agenda. As you all well know, we are at a virtual conference again this year. So instead of explaining break times for the day, where the bathrooms are, and when you can use them, I will cover some of the basics. They'll make this an enjoyable virtual conference. Everyone should have been muted on entry. If you have unmuted yourself, please go ahead and put yourself back on mute. We have a room attendant that we're monitoring to keep the background noises to a minimum for the opening ceremony. Let's get the 11th annual Partners in Action started. For starters, I'd like to start with a warm welcome for Dylan Jennings. Dylan Bijakins Jennings, a member of the Martin clan of Bad River Band of Lake Superior Chippewas Indians, where he has served 2 consecutive terms as an elected tribal council member for the Bad River tribe. He graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Madison with degrees in anthropology, archaeology, environmental studies, and American Indian Studies. He completed his master's degree from the University of Wisconsin-Madison Nelson Institute. He can converse in 5 different languages, including Ojibwe, Spanish, Italian, English, and a little bit of Hindi. He served as a director of public information for the Great Lakes Indian Fish and Wildlife Commission, which required him to be fluent in tribal environmental news and issues. He was also a writer, photographer, and editor of the Mazinigan magazine newspaper. Currently, Dylan resides in Odena, Wisconsin, and is a University of Wisconsin-Madison Field Doctorate Fellow. Bijakins presents at many public engagements and schools throughout Midwest on topics ranging from traditional substance, sovereignty, tribal and environmental perspective, culture immersion, Ojibwe wind, tribal historic preservation, food sovereignty, Ojibwe cultural and curriculum. Bijakins is also an adjunct instructor of Northland College in the American Indian Studies Department, where he teaches introduction of Ojibwe language and culture. He also serves an appointed member of the Wisconsin Governor's Task Force on Climate Change. Bijakins has been a recent recipient of the National Center of American Indian Enterprise Development Under 40 Award and a recipient of the UW-Madison Nelson Institute Rising Star Alumni Award. We are in the 16th month of a pandemic. Please remember our family and friends as Dylan guides us in the opening prayer.
Oh, Shema, Nishanabe Dog. And Dinoy Magani Dogama. When you go, you also Louis Insta. Right, go. How it the great among for there's a become for AJ the minute same about and young. Right, go. When you go, you also Nagona, we kind of monk for you money do Jagama. You can go now, same as money do go, Kabi Tong, Gigo, and Danima, on money do Nodin, or Wabanong, Jawanong, and Gap. Nagugai, waiting a Kea. In the sky, we when you go, you also, your money dog, or the Omar King, the Kimanan. They find you up in a, we when you go, you also, and we kind of mungo, you, to Damon on it. Me go to a tagos at a wasia and guy go Venetia and guy go Giguya and there's a way in a Maori Gu and Ishanabe walking. When he does, she also me ma guy again and Dodama Gangabon ma, we when he get magic gings a guy gunning, meanwhile zebing get abaji tour and Ishanabe. In the sky, me ma guy gini, the great way pan, Ebon you, Giguya and Dahiana the ma, guy go the Bataina one in Igmanum and give a 1 year tour and Ishanabe gave me it. Skemangyo, when you go, your osa, Penegona, and Mikoinamungo, you, your money dog, Ishpeming, Ishpigijum Gain, Mikoinamungo. Weni dash yo osa skema ingu anangu kaning kai go chigizis dibika gizis Asia winid kapisa gitchwe Vino dash go kina atso kana gae ni mikwena mango ingu manidog. Weni dash yo osa skema ingu apane weni go yo osa apane weni ni mikwena mango ingu ena bushu Asia winid skema odujaman gae go kumisanan. Weni dash yo osa mitigwabe when anyone guy go asa nabe when anyone eweni dapana motion ana sema the gonna win me on guy go the widu kawi on guy go the join me on guy go the gonna win me on kina nishanabe a cause in a gen guy go kina ga wenji akozi COVID-19 Asia winid game on you we weni dash yo osa nabikang mikuna mango gyu mede wabu e shuinid. Indashkae we weni go yosa. Apagoze mangwa na sema the gonna weni mian gaigo the jawena miana akina kichi ayamananik mindamuya gaigo kiwensia gama we weni dash yosa mikuna mango gyu kina abanujian sa gaya kina abanuja gama gaya go ibidi ni mikwena mango giwa money dog. Weni dash yo osa going a kina money dog ingi kena masing dash anchwe oskansing ano sema. Skema niwe ka gwejima gangyo money dog jigwayaka ko sidwada kina gegu ga kidoyan. Bin dash gaye shkego dash and denwe magani dog. Asema gaigo kina nishanabe jatwalan gi pagida na ma king jini abaji awad gi abadi ji gimi gochu etagozid nishanabe weni dash yo osa mi gochu etagozid kina mishki king gaigo seman indash gae kina nagamojigama gaigo pagana gaigo megunan kina we do kawian Anishinaabe walking Misa Omenik mon wewe tuyan Eshkego dashni jaganashi bongi. Good morning, friends and relatives. In our language, I just want to say miigwech to everybody for being here, and I also want to ask for forgiveness from all of our elders and knowledge holders out there for speaking before you. And especially in this format, it's the best that we can do during these trying times. And I just want to acknowledge everybody and myself. I'm just a lifelong learner of our language and of our culture, and so I want to say that in a humble way and acknowledge everybody here and ask for that forgiveness. And in the best way that I could, I was given this tobacco from my relatives here to speak for all of us as we embark on this journey over the next few weeks in these shared spaces. And we ask that the Money Dog watch over each and every one of you and your families, and that they bless you, that they take care of you, and that they help you when you need help. We ask that the Money Dog that sit in all those different directions accept a little bit of this tobacco and watch over all of us as we do the important work that needs to be done for all of our communities to take care of our children, watch over all of our babies, and watch over all of our all of our elders, our old ones that are in our communities that we value and cherish so much. And so we ask that the Money Dog also take care of all of our relatives that are sick at this time, whether that's sickness from this sickness that's going around over the last year and a half, that virus. We ask that we watch over our people that might have gotten sick from that. We also ask that they take care of people that have gotten sick from other things, whether that's addiction or heart disease or other forms of sickness. We ask that they take care of those ones as well and provide them a little relief. We also ask that acknowledge how important our waters and our rivers and everything that we have here in these places are to our subsistence as Anishinaabe or Indigenous people. And so we ask that when you do take care of all those things, and we remember that we have responsibilities to those things as well. And so we also ask that you know, the Manidug accept our tobacco, and they know that we are still practicing our way of life that we've been given, and that we're still using our tobacco and our ceremonies to be strong, to live a good life, to take care of our people. And so I just humbly ask that the Manidug accept this on all of our behalf, that we all come to this gathering with a good heart, with a good mind, good spirit, and that we're able to collaborate and have a good time together, and learn something from one another. And so I just humbly and politely thank you guys for you know, offering me a couple minutes here to say a few things in the English language. And I hope everybody has a really great gathering, a great meeting, and out of great humility, wish you all a really great conference, and good next few weeks here. And just want to say love each and every one of you, and mi omenik one way tuya miigwich bizin dawieg. Oh.
Miigwech, Dylan, thank you very much. Next, I'd like you to welcome and provide proper respect for the Oshkobewis Drum Group and the Lactoflambo Tribal Color Guard. I'm going to read you the members of the two groups before the video, so you know the names of friends and fellow veterans that you may have served with. The drum group consists of the following members: Sheldon Williams, Scott Chapman, Garrett Mendez, Victor Reyes III, and Marvin Palmonica. The Lactoflambo Tribal Color Guard members are Georgian Brown, United States Navy; Bill Wildcat, United States Marine Corps; Jim Peterson, United States Marine Corps; Joni Matthews, Brigadier General, Wisconsin National Guard; John Johnson, United States Marine Corps; Charles Wolf, U.S. Army; Misty Jackson, United States Army; Art Piron, United States Navy; John Johnson, Sr., United States Army; Dennis Sangstock, United States Army; Bill Williams, United States Army; Mildred Elm, Lactoflambo Tribal Elder; Nancy Peterson, Lactoflambo Tribal Elder. Miigwech to the Oshkobewis drum group and the Lactoflambo tribal color guard. As you can see, the agenda, we definitely have an all-star lineup for you this morning. Over the next few weeks, we have 85 sessions of information to discover with you, followed by a wonderful closing ceremony. You are encouraged to attend as many as you possibly can. Take this opportunity to learn more on a topic you are interested in or just to broaden your knowledge base. We are also recording the sessions for you. If you're unable to attend a session, you really want to get the information. After the keynote speakers, I will have some additional housekeeping, basic administrative notes for everyone. So please stand by for those tidbits of information. They may aid in providing a virtual experience from a good one to a great one. Our theme this year is very fitting with the nation dealing with a COVID pandemic. You might recognize the theme from Clint Eastwood movie Heartbreak Ridge. I was going to download the movie clip and play that segment, but well, the language wasn't really fitting at all. The fact is, Clint Eastwood borrowed this phrase, our theme, for his movie. The theme is close to my heart, as it is the unofficial mantra of the United States Marine Corps: adapt, improvise, and overcome. For the last 16 months, we have been adapting each day, whether it was wearing face masks in public, homeschooling our children, or being prepared for the Delta variant of COVID. We have improvised, such as our Partners Action Conference last year, a little later in the year due to the pandemic, and it's our first virtual last year. We will overcome. The key to this is we overcome together. We will overcome. Enough of listening to me. The pandemic isn't over. We will remain vigilant. We will remain strong, and we will encourage others to get their vaccination. All that aside, it is an exciting time for the tribes and those with the trust responsibility supporting our tribal leaders. We have new leadership. We hear of better budgets coming down. We will adapt, improvise, and overcome. Most of us had noticed the NBC playoffs are currently going on. The championship series with the Bucks and that other team, go Bucks. It is always nice to see teams in the playoffs from the Midwest. You may not have realized the Midwest region has its own championship team for the BIA and the tribes of the Midwest. I would like to introduce the first champion on our team, the coach of the Midwest region, the one person that makes sure I get paid, and my direct supervisor. She's an enrolled member of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Indians in North Dakota and began her federal career in 1983. Since has served as the Deputy Regional Director of Trust Services, then in June of 2019 took over as the Regional Director for the Midwest. Her leadership ensures the smooth and efficient operation of the region office and 3 agency. She works with Bureau senior leadership and staff and other departmental offices to achieve the Secretary's objectives. Participates in senior management discussions on a wide variety of matters, including ethics, personnel, and departmental operations. And here's my coach, probably the last time I'm gonna get away with calling her coach. A warm welcome for the Midwest Regional Director, Tammy Poitra.
Thank you, Scott, for that warm welcome. And welcome to the 11th Annual Partners in Action. For those of you who don't know me or do know me, my name is Tammy Poitra, Midwest Regional Director. I want to thank the drum group and the color guards for preparing us in a good way today. And I also want to thank Dylan Jennings for the delivery of today's prayer. Today we kick off our 2nd annual virtual conference, and we are extremely excited that there are now 70 courses, I think it's 70 plus courses that we will be delivering virtually this year. In addition, we have a record high turnout of 707 registered attendees for this year's conference, and 100% of Midwest Region's tribal leaders in attendance this year. This morning, our registration link showed 70 tribes That includes our 36 from Midwest region, as well as other tribes around the nation that have joined our conference this year in attendance, and as well as 50 federal and state partners who will be attending and presenting. So I'm honored to announce the keynote speakers for this year. From the Assistant Secretary's office, we have Deputy Assistant Secretary, Policy and Management, Policy and Economic Development, Catherine Isom-Claus, Daryl LeCount, Director of the Bureau of Indian Affairs, Bart Stevens, Deputy Bureau Director for Field Operations, Tony Sullins, Field Special Assistant with the Secretary of Interior's Office, and Ms. Jonna Blackheart, Deputy Bureau Director for Trust Services. The Partners in Action Conference has evolved throughout the years to become one of our primary tools that not only build on government-to-government partnerships, but also fosters opportunities for tribes to explore self-determination efforts and priorities of the administration. As we discussed throughout the conference, funding opportunities, working relationships with tribes, legislative changes, gaming updates, we also look to the tribes to share their triumphs and challenges from their experiences. In 2010, we kicked off our first Partners in Action. At that time, we were honored to have the Assistant Secretary, Mr. Echo Hawk, there, as well as Brian Newland in attendance. And since then, Mr. Newland has attended, I want to say, pretty much 100% of our conferences. We were also featured in a small PBS broadcast as BIA working alongside the Midwest tribes in support of the tribal communities, self-determination, and sovereignty. Today, we have built a strong and lasting relationship with our tribes, which is a reflection of the importance of effective communication and collaboration seen throughout this conference. And just this year, among many more that the Midwest region works on annually. The Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. The Bureau of Indian Affairs Midwest Region Branch of Fish, Wildlife, and Parks supports the Department of Interior's goals of fulfilling Indian trust responsibilities by enabling tribes to meaningfully exercise their treaty fishing, hunting, and gathering rights, and assists tribes in the management, development, and protection of Indian trust land and natural resource assets. To do this through the partnerships with tribes and Environmental Protection Agency, and by supporting 36 tribes, federally recognized Indian tribes, and 3 intertribal treaty resource organizations for the management and protection of Indian trust lands and natural resources in the states of Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Iowa. Tribes in the Midwest region encompass and steward approximately 62 million acres, including treaty-ceded territories representing millions of acres of forest, lakes, streams, and wetlands. We have provided over $80 million in Public Law 93-638 contracts and self-governance agreements to tribes assisting in the management and protection of Indian trust land and natural resources. We also support over 600 individual tribal projects. The other program that I'm very proud of, and this year we have really taken this to another level, is the Midwest Social Service Program. This year we have partnered with the University of Minnesota Duluth School of Social Work to train tribes, regions, agencies, social workers, and community leaders in working effectively with tribal communities, families, and within social service programs. To date, we have held 3 sessions and have trained over 347 personnel. We also implemented Let's Talk ICWA to offer assistance to state and county social workers in understanding ICWA, what an official notice is, how to work with tribal communities, and work social service departments and other topics that come up in relation to ICWA. To date, we have held 4 training sessions, educating and offering technical assistance to over 135 state and county personnel. We are also working with other regions that are interested in this effort and will be mirroring our work for the states and counties. Before we get started with the conference, I would like to recognize the Midwest tribes and tribal leadership. Starting with Bad River Band of Wisconsin, Chairman Michael Wiggins. Bay Mills Indian Community, President Whitney Gravel. Forest County Potawatomi, Chairman Ned Daniels. Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa Chippewa Indians of Michigan, Chairman David Ahoyo. Hannahville Indian Community, Michigan, Chairperson Kenneth Meshagod. Ho-Chunk Nation of Wisconsin, President Marlon White Eagle. Kewanna Bay Indian Community, President Warren Schwartz. Lakota Ray Band of Wisconsin, Chairman Lewis Taylor. Lactoflambo of Wisconsin, President John Johnson. Lac Vieux Desert Band of Michigan, Chairman James Williams. Little River Band of Ottawa Indians, Ogima Larry Romanelli. Little River Band Bay of Ottawa Indians, Chairperson Regina Gasco Bentley. Lower Sioux Indian Community, Minnesota, President Robert L. Jack Larson. Machipinishiwish Band of Potawatomi Indians of Michigan, Chairperson Bob Peters. Menominee Indian Tribe of Wisconsin, Chairman Gunnar Peters. Minnesota Chippewa Tribe, Boys Fort Band, Net Lake, Chairman Catherine Shavers. Minnesota Chippewa Tribe, Fond du Lac, Chairman Kevin Dupius. Minnesota Chippewa Tribe, Grand Portage, Chairman Robert Deschamps. Minnesota Chippewa Tribe, Leech Lake Band, Chairman Farron Jackson. Minnesota Chippewa Tribe, Mille Lacs Band, Chief Executive Melanie Benjamin. Minnesota Chippewa Tribe, White Earth Band, Chairman Michael Fairbanks. Minnesota Chippewa Tribe, Minnesota, President Catherine Shavers. Nottawassippi Huron Band of Potawatomi, Michigan, Chairman Jamie Stuck. Oneida Nation, Chairman Tahasi Hill. Pokagon Band of Potawatomi Indians, Michigan and Indiana, Chairperson Matthew Wasow. Prairie Island Indian Community, Minnesota, President Shelley Buck. Red Cliff Band of Lake Superior Chippewa Indians of Wisconsin, Chairman Richard Peterson. Red Lake Band of Chippewa Indians, Minnesota, Chairman Darrell Seekey. Sac and Fox Tribe of Mississippi in Iowa, Chairwoman Judith Bender. Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe of Michigan, Chief Timothy Davis. Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians, Michigan, Chairperson Aaron Payment. Shakopee Mdewakanton Sioux Community of Minnesota, Chairman Keith Anderson. Saucogin Chippewa Community, Wisconsin, Chairman Robert Van Zyl. St. Croix Chippewa Indians of Wisconsin, Chairman William Reynolds. Stockbridge Muncie Communities, Wisconsin, President Shannon Halsley. Upper Sioux Community, Minnesota, Chairman Kevin Jensvold. I also want to recognize and thank the conference planners, conference coordinators, conference teams, and presenters for investing so much of their valuable time to ensure that this year's conference runs smoothly and exceeds all of our expectations as we continue to be challenged by the pandemic. Their work is a testament of the endurance and commitment to partnerships and building relationships. Thank you for joining today. Enjoy the conference, and I look forward to hearing from you. Now I'd like to introduce my team at the regional office as well as the agencies, and I'm going to start with Patricia Olby, Deputy Regional Director for Trust Services.
Good morning and welcome to the 11th Annual Partners in Action. I'm Patricia Olby, Deputy Regional Director, Trust Services, and proud member of the Red Cliff Band of Lake Superior Chippewa Indians. Thank you for joining us for the opening ceremony. Hopefully one day soon, we will be able to gather safely again in person. I'd like to thank all of the presenters for sharing their knowledge and time with us. Because of them, we have over 70 courses offered this year. Additionally, I'd like to thank the teams that worked hard to plan an event of this size. There were many individuals involved that made this possible. Lastly, I'd like to thank our senior leadership, mainly Regional Director Tammy Poitra, for her support and guidance in making this event possible virtually. Last year, it sort of started out as a joke. We should do PIA virtually. Ha ha ha, we laughed about it. But then we later thought, why not? And Tammy gave us the support we needed to pursue the event virtually. And here we are. As Tammy may have mentioned, this is our largest event by far, with over 700 participants. Please sit back and enjoy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patty. Next, I'd like to introduce James Chris Redmond. James, or Chris, is our Deputy Regional Director for Indian Services, and he's been with us for the past 6 months. Chris, if you'd like to say good morning.
Hey, good morning. My name is Chris Redmond. I'm a member of the Chickasaw Nation of Oklahoma and the Deputy Regional Director for Indian Services for the Midwest region. It has been my pleasure and continues to be a privilege to serve Indian country in the various capacities through my years of federal and tribal services. This morning, I want to join my colleagues in welcoming our tribal leaders, federal and state partners, and everyone participating in this year's Partners in Action virtual conference. Also, I want to acknowledge the awesome work and commitment from all of those who put effort towards making this year's Partners in Action conference a success. All doing this during their regular daily roles and responsibilities. The theme this year again is Adapt, Improvise, and Overcome. I believe we're all set for an awesome 4 weeks. Again, welcome.
Thank you, Chris. Next, I want to introduce to you our superintendents. And we have 3 superintendents, 3 agencies here at the Midwest region. And I first, want to acknowledge the work they do out there. As many of you know, I was a superintendent down in Nebraska for 5 years. And that's a really tough job to do. And, the diversity that you're coming and going and meeting with the community members, working with tribal councils, just always resolving issues and on a timeline. So with that, I want to introduce to you Diane Baker, Superintendent for the Great Lakes Agency. Diane. Diane, you're on mute, I think. You're still on mute, Diane. Yep.
Okay.
There we go.
I think we have it. Thank you so much, Tammy. Good morning, everyone. I'm a member of the Bad River Band of Lake Superior Chippewa Indians and superintendent since March of 2020 with 31 years of service. The agency remains open, providing services to 10 of the 11 tribal entities and individual landowners. On any given day, we have Monday through Friday, we have up to 25% of the staff, which is federally mandated at that level. I am very diligent in my role to carry out the Bureau's mission and to develop processes to assure services are streamlined and provided efficiently. I'm available by email or telephone if you have any questions. Opportunity for more information and discussions specific to BIA agencies and the region will be shared in more detail tomorrow in the introduction to BIA and streamlining BIA processes sessions tomorrow, which I look forward to, as well as the whole conference. The courses look very, we have a wide array of things and opportunities and really looking forward to it and then having those discussions with each of you or as many of you as we can. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Diane. Next, we'll go to Jason Alberle. Jason is the superintendent up at the Michigan Agency in Northern Michigan. Jason, if you'd like to say a few words.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
How about now? Did my camera turn on finally? Or
yep,
anybody?
I can hear you better.
All right. Well, it's a pleasure to be introduced this morning. Like Tammy said, this is our 11th Partners in Action. We've had the privilege of having it here in Sault Ste. Marie even in the past, and had the privilege of working on that. I get the opportunity to present this afternoon with Mr. Bart Stevens on BIA today. I've been the agency superintendent here in Michigan for a little over 7 years. I came home in 2014 to take the post. I'm a enrolled member of the Sault Ste. Marie tribe of Chippewa Indians. We're right here in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. It's been interesting being back home and working with all the people that I grew up with. You know, it's been a real honor and a real privilege. Agency stays open just as normal business, just our staffing is limited, as Diane brought up earlier. So you can just give us a call here if you need anything at all. I speak with our chairs regularly. I was communicating with one of them. I hope he's on. I hope he made it on to the opening ceremony here. We just got him a link out this morning. So anyway, anybody needs me for anything, they know how to reach me. And thank you everybody for being here with us. Turn it back over to you, Tammy.
Thank you, Jason. Next, I'd like to introduce to you Alan Fogarty. Alan is a superintendent at the Minnesota agency. Alan came to us last year in around October, coming from IHS as the director of Indian Health Services up in Cass Lake, Minnesota. Alan, if you'd like to introduce yourself, say a few words.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good morning and welcome to everybody thank you for attending the 11th Annual Partners in Action. This is the first year I've participated in this, and it's just amazing how much of an undertaking it is to pull all this together. But I can really see the use, and especially for me being new to Bureau of Indian Affairs, I see so many useful topics that will be covered and that I think will be great and useful. So I'm looking forward to this first conference. I'm looking forward to learning a lot, and I'm looking forward to hearing feedback from our individual tribes on what we can do better possibly, or if they have questions on any of the information, they can contact me. And we have remained open as well, as Jason and Diane have said, and we're open for business, working through the trials and tribulations of dealing with COVID, but we're open and providing service. And thank you to the regional office staff who have taken the time and the leadership to put this together. I appreciate it. Thank you, Tammy.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. So before I turn it back over to Scott Cameron, our MC for the conference this year, I again just want to thank all of you for being out there and supporting Partners in Action. We started 11 years ago with around 200 people, and throughout the years we had built up our attendance to around 450. Last year exceeding 600, and this year, bypassing that up to a 707. Along with tribes from across the nation. So it's an exciting time, and I look forward to hearing from you. At the end of the conference, we will be you'll be asked to do surveys and any recommendations, because we really build the next year's conference off of those comments, as they are and so important to ensuring that we're doing a good job in the delivery of Partners in Action. So thank you, and Scott, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Tammy, for the warm welcoming comments and the introduction of the Midwest Regions Championship team. I am sure most of you have heard of the 1992 United States Olympic basketball team, the Dream Team, consisting of Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Charles Barkley, and Karl Malone, just to name a few of the key players. Well, the BIA has its own dream team also. They may be not quite as tall in their physical nature as the 5 players I just mentioned, but trust me, they're extremely tall in their talent. Our dream team forward that is calling the offense, it requires a blend of skills and a great shooting guard and a power forward she is. She is a member of the Teos Pueblo tribe of New Mexico. She comes to us from the National Indian Gaming Commission, where she served as a vice chair since 2016. Before joining the commission, she served as a senior counselor to Asia, advising on Indian gaming matters, environmental compliance issues, and revenue allocation plans. As counselor, she chaired interagency working groups on sacred sites and homelessness, and coordinated listening sessions and roundtables with tribal stakeholders. Her portfolio also includes the restoration and protection of tribal homelands. She graduated with a Bachelor's of Arts degree from Wesley's College and received her Juris Doctorate from Columbia University School of Law. I would like you to welcome the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Policy and Economic Development, Catherine Isom-Klaus.
Just want to do a quick check to make sure you can hear me. Yes.
Yes,
okay.
we can hear you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you once again for inviting me to speak at the Partners in Action Conference. I'm very happy to be here with you all virtually. I'd like to greet all of the tribal leaders in attendance, as well as my federal colleagues and other participants on the line. I'd also like to congratulate the organizers of this conference. This looks like a tremendous amount of work pulling together this huge lineup of topics and speakers, and I really congratulate you on putting together a very successful looking conference. I know our Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary, Brian Newland, would love to be here with you today, but unfortunately he's on travel, so he asked me to step in. As Scott mentioned, my name is Catherine Isom-Klaus. I am Taos Pueblo, and almost 2 weeks ago, I started as the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Policy and Economic Development. And I'm joining you today from our main interior building in Washington, D.C. on the ancestral homelands of the Anacostan and Piscataway peoples. I would just like to start with saying I'm truly privileged to have the opportunity to serve Indian country every day through our work at the Department of the Interior, along with my colleagues. We have a very talented and hardworking staff throughout the department and the BIA, like those who are speaking today and throughout the conference. I'm looking forward to working more with these colleagues as I settle more into my new role. And today I've been asked to share a few of our priorities in Indian affairs. There are so many, so I just picked out a few that we might have time to talk about a little bit today. I'd like to start with our government-to-government relationship with tribal nations, which is really the foundation of our work. You can see this commitment to honoring and strengthening the nation-to-nation relationship government-wide through the tribal consultations on that relationship and on consultation itself that took place earlier this year, and work on that is still ongoing. Respect for tribal sovereignty and self-governance, fulfilling federal trust and treaty responsibilities to tribal nations, and regular, meaningful, and robust consultation with tribal officials are of the highest priority. Another key priority for us is the restoration and protection of tribal homelands. As we know, tribal homelands are at the heart of tribal sovereignty and self-governance. We're currently working to uphold our trust and treaty responsibilities. One way to do that is by placing land into trust for Indian tribes. And as we know, taking land into trust on behalf of tribes, as well as addressing fractionation, is critical for tribal sovereignty and self-determination. It preserves tribal histories and culture for future generations. It spurs economic development and supports the well-being of tribal citizens. We're continuing to find new ways to address those topics and make that a very key part of our work, as it certainly has been. Another topic that I was asked to touch on is expanding tribal broadband access. It's another huge priority for the department and across the federal government. High-speed internet is essential for the economic development and self-sufficiency of American Indian and Alaska Native communities. But nonetheless, we know that tribal communities face barriers to this access. The federal government is aware of these disparities in broadband access and is working on numerous fronts to decrease the gap in broadband access. Two ways we're doing that in Indian affairs are through grant programs and a National Tribal Broadband Summit. This year's National Tribal Broadband Summit is still under development, but it will be an opportunity for tribal leaders, tribal organizations, schools, tribal libraries and cultural programs, and federal program managers and policymakers to come together and share their innovations in expanding broadband access and adoption in tribal communities. As part of the larger effort to close the digital divide in Indian country, the National Tribal Broadband Summit will connect community leaders with information and resources to identify opportunities for public and private sector solutions to close that connectivity gap on tribal land. In addition, the Tribal Broadband Grant provides an opportunity for tribes to receive funding to explore the possibility of developing or extending broadband service in their communities. This year's deadline for that program is passed. However, our current focus is on the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, or NTIA's Tribal Broadband Connectivity Program. That program is currently accepting applications for grants to expand broadband access and adoption on tribal land. The deadline for that program is September 1st, so we'd like to see folks continue to take advantage of that opportunity. I really encourage you to look into that if you haven't already applied for that. Another priority for the Secretary and for all of us in Indian Affairs that's close to our hearts is the Federal Indian Boarding School Initiative. As we know, beginning in the 1820s, the United States enacted laws and implemented policies establishing and supporting Indian boarding schools across the nation. The purpose of those schools was to take Native children away from their cultures and families in an effort to culturally assimilate them. Many of these children did not return home, and others carried intergenerational trauma that persists today. Understanding and acknowledging these impacts can help us begin to heal. So to achieve the goals of beginning that healing and just beginning a process of truth around this, the department is undertaking an investigation of the loss of human life and the lasting consequences of residential Indian boarding schools. That work will proceed in several phases, including the identification and collection of records and information related to the department's oversight and implementation of those programs, formal consultations with tribal nations, Alaska Native corporations, and Native Hawaiian organizations to clarify the processes and procedures for protecting identified burial sites and associated information. And finally, the submission of a written report on that investigation due to the Secretary by April 1st, 2022. And that work is really multifaceted and is a huge lift to identify these children, but it's incredibly important to us to do that and return them home. So I'd like to close with thanking you for the opportunity to share a few of these priorities. And this is really just a very small slice of the many vital programs and policy initiatives underway and in development. Our other priorities include missing and murdered Indigenous persons, climate change and renewable energy, community safety in Indian country, and education. I know the next speakers will have some additional information and updates in more detail on some of those topics. And we look forward to sharing more of Secretary Holland's and Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary Newland's plans in the future. And with that, I would like to thank you again for the opportunity to speak with you, and I will turn it back over.
Thank you, Deputy Assistant Secretary Eisenklaus. The next key player, the second forward of our BIA Dream Team, does not fear tough situation, providing that direction to the offense. As he gets closer to the rim, the tougher he gets. An enrolled member of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Indians in North Dakota, he began his federal career in 1988 at the Bureau of Wind River Agency in Fort Washakie, Wyoming, as an oil and gas specialist in the Real Estate Services branch of the Office of Trust Services. After having served in several other capacities with the BIA Rocky Mountain region, he was named the Regional Director of the Rocky Mountain region in March of 2015. He was acting Regional Director for Rocky Mountain from January 2014. He was named the Director of the Bureau of Indian Affairs April 28, 2019, and has served as the Acting Director of Bureau of Indian Affairs since April 26, 2018. A warm welcome to the Director of the Bureau of Indian Affairs, Darrell LeCount.
That introduction, I appreciate it. Welcome aboard, Catherine. I don't know that I've met you, but certainly we will meet at some point. Again, I appreciate the introduction, and actually yesterday July 18, was my 33rd anniversary of being with the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And today would be my 33rd anniversary of actually going to work for the Bureau of Indian Affairs, because the 18th of July, as was yesterday, was a Sunday in 1988. And I'd like to say this just for some context to folks. Yesterday, I had served 16.5 years under a Democratic administration and 16.5 years under a Republican administration to the day. And so all of you in Indian country understand that politics are what they are, but I found that fairly fascinating. And quite honestly, it depends upon who's running the administration as to the attention and care that Indian country gets. But I just found that very fascinating as I was reflecting on 33 years of doing this. I have a fondness for the Midwest region. I think it's inappropriately named, but nobody asked me when they went from the Minneapolis area to the Midwest region. I would have called it the Mid-North. Because I've frozen my ass off up there many times because other people made poor decisions and sent me there in January several times. The first January, well, I can't even say it was the first. It was one of many. A previous director thought it would be a really good idea for us to go to Ashland, Wisconsin in January. I said, yes, that's brilliant. It was the most expensive trip I've ever taken because I got to the Minneapolis airport and I went to rent a car and they said, well, we're going to have to upgrade you to a Ford F-150. I said, all right. It was the nicest truck I ever got in a rental car for sure. And so I came home and spent $35,000 and got one of my own. The next time that I recall was, I suppose it was probably the next year, 2013 or 2014, when somebody thought it was a really good idea to have our first tribal consultation on land buyback at Shakopee, Minnesota in January. And again, you know, -20 is just another day at the beach for you folks, but for others, with your humidity, it's a little different. I come to you today from my kitchen, excuse me, in Billings, Montana. I've been fortunate enough to be here since April. Prior to that, I was in DC for quite some time. The pandemic obviously has changed a whole lot about each and every one of us and where we operate from and where we work from. But I'm lucky right now. I'm in my kitchen and it's oh, excuse me. That was a little res dog that I have, and I apologize for that, folks. She came from Northern Cheyenne, but she likes to let me know when people show up. Kind of took me off guard there. Sorry about that. The Midwest region is home to one of my favorite superintendents. You may be able to figure out who she is, but I won't mention her name. Also, home to one of my favorite tribal chairmen, who I was fortunate enough to spend a day with opening the Indian Veterans Memorial Monument in Washington, D.C. I have an affection for the Midwest region. As the fine fellow that introduced me, I am a Chippewa as well. I grew up in Montana, even though my reservation was in North Dakota. My grandparents were allotted in the public domain sector of Montana, and it's home, and it's a great place to be. It's a great place to live. I have more time to spend in DC. I'm not sure how much more I will spend in DC, but I'm very proud to be the director for you and for all of the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and I'm very happy to serve in this capacity. The Partners in Action, I thought I had attended this once before, but once they said it's been 11 years, I attended something different way back in like 2003. I was working at that time for the director who was from the Midwest region, Terry Burton. I ended up north of Minneapolis putting on a presentation for trust reform. And I thought that was the same as this conference, but it must have been the predecessor of this conference. Anyway, as Catherine noted, she put out the priorities of this administration, and we're here to address those priorities along with you and along with the tribes. And we're also trying at this point to find as many places where we can develop some co-management with tribes. And that's just not in Indian Affairs, that's throughout the department. I know there's a strong fish and wildlife presence in the Midwest region, and I think there's many opportunities there for us to co-manage. And so I would like you all to be thinking about where it is that you could jump in and help us and help the department, for that matter, enter into some co-management agreements. I will end with climate change. I'm sitting in Billings, Montana, and I can barely see 5 miles out my window because of the smoke that's already here. And the fire season is supposed to start, you know, about a week or two from now, and then the heat will roll in. It's going to be 100+ here for the next week, and then it gets hot. I don't even know what that means anymore. This is crazy. And we all need to adapt and help each other and manage here. It's pretty sad. I was sitting in my kitchen Friday evening and I saw a fire start about 5 miles away from here. And it almost burned one of my best friend's houses down that night. Thanks to some very brave firefighters, it was saved. And so climate change is real. We need to do the best we can to save Indian country from it. So thank you. Sorry, my little dog got me off my game a little bit. Have a great conference, and I will participate a little bit here and there when I get an opportunity. So thank you very much for this opportunity. Oh, one more thing. I have a bit of an affection for the Midwest Regional Director as well. One day we were in Washington, D.C. Before I was stationed there, and we shared a cab over to the Tribal Interior Budget Council meeting. And we discovered that, yes, we were cousins. Indian country is a small place. Her name is Poitra. I'd always assumed that was a married name. It wasn't. When you hit the Montana line, you become a Portra. So Tammy, anytime you get over here, you're a Portra, which my grandmother was a Portra. So let's have a great conference, and thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you, Daryl.
Thank you, Director LeCount. Even the res dog's got to have a voice once in a while.
It's a Cheyenne res dog, and I've got a Crow res dog that lives next door, and they managed to get along. The Cheyennes and the Crows can't, but the dogs can.
All right, our next, every dream team has to have a good point guard who sets the team tempo and execution. using her speed and quickness and expert ability of ball handling skills. As a member of the Cree tribe, began her federal career in 1991 in the Land Conservation Office at the Uintah and Ouray Agency in Fort Duchesne, Utah, where she conducted various real estate service functions. In addition to serving as a realty officer at the Southwest Regional Office, she has held several BIA field leadership positions, including superintendent positions at the Mescalero Agency and the Uintah and Ouray Agency, Eastern Region Office, Deputy Regional Director, Eastern Regional Office, Regional Director, Acting Associate Deputy Bureau Director, Trust Services. In September 2019, was named Deputy Bureau Director, Trust Services. In January 2021, she was designated as the Acting Director of Bureau of Indian Affairs. I'd like you to welcome the BIA Deputy Director, Trust Services, Jonna Blackheart.
Bonjour, Miwasan Gates Bayao. Thank you, Tammy, for putting together this awesome Partners in Action forum. I am thankful for the prayer that was said this morning and wholeheartedly felt that prayer as it reached out to many of us in Indian country. Thankful for the vets and their service and the people that you have on your staff to make this Partners in Action a great success for the past 11 years and for the future years to come. It's an honor and a privilege for me to be with you all here today as I highlight some of the activities that my office is responsible for. The Office of Trust Services executes Indian affairs, trust responsibilities to Indian tribes and individuals, and oversees all headquarters activities associated with management. My office provides assistance, advice, policy, oversight, monitoring, and coordination of protection, management, planning, conservation, and development of utilization of trust and restricted lands. My office oversees the implementation of national activities for the following divisions: real estate services, land titles and records, probate, natural resources, forest and wildland fire management, water and power, and we are the executive sponsor for the land buyback program, which will be transitioned over to the acquisition center's activities. And in April of 2021, the Division of Energy and Minerals Development was reestablished under my office. In addition to the secretarial priorities that were provided earlier, I have the opportunity to support field operations and tribes and tribal leaders and tribal communities and climate change and adaptation, deployment of clean energy, support infrastructure to build back better, support tribal sovereignty, and support our nation's trust and treaty responsibilities by working across federal partners within government for an all-of-government approach to address these serious issues that face our tribal nations. I am also actively engaged with the Office of Personnel Management to identify our workforce diversity and equity across Indian country and across government. I am also modernizing our regulatory process as a part of our response to reduce the regulatory burdens on tribal lands, promote economic opportunities and financing opportunities for economic development. We've been refining and implementing program initiatives focused on reducing the regulatory burden. We are promoting government-to-government relationships with tribes through leadership and visions aimed at improvising and improving service delivery, transparency in operations, and responsiveness to areas that matter to our service population and our tribal leaders as they face these daily challenges. We are committed to empowering tribes to manage their own resources. We are prioritizing our budgets and funding and have a high and significant expectation for our federal employees to serve in the best manner possible. We are providing projects and funding opportunities in the coming funding years as we're formulating and recommending directives on national policies and standards for trust services, providing technical administrative oversight in assisting regional program managers in their mission as we're improving our TAMS system, our Trust Asset Accounts Management System, to better serve and be utilized to expedite our trust transactions. The performance management approach based upon inputs and outputs and the information that is shared by you and your program for your contract and compact programs are important to us as we focus on getting the results that our customers, our tribal leaders, and our tribal members deserve, and getting to yes. Our director, working with him in central office these past almost 4 years now, has provided the strict advice to me to get to yes, to provide the best service deliverables to our tribal leaders, to our tribal members, so that they can do the job that they need to do with the resources that they have committed in their leadership. This means the examination of what we can deliver within our existing budgets, as well as advocating for increases in our budgets and addressing alternatives in the midst of staff reductions, retirements, recruitment issues, and the roles tribes play in managing their own resources. With that, my office is also charged to take a look at reorganizing for the next 100 years, prioritizing budgets, answering to the personnel management and budget offices, eventually to Congress and through the Office of the Executive President, for funding projects and formulating and recognizing the directives and the needs of our Indian people by providing national policies and standards for the program management for each of our people out there that are doing this important work. We are providing technical and administrative oversight, assisting regions, overseeing modernization efforts, having tribes, our tribal leaders involved in these conversations in the various organizations that Trust Services is engaged. Resources are used in the most effective and cost-effective manner for the best results is a value that we are seriously wanting to improve upon and learn from our tribal leaders and our tribal nations for the results that we are needing so that we can help assist and provide that information through government and to manage that customer delivery of service. Leadership at all levels must ensure programs are led by taking responsibility for achieving those results that matter to each and every one of us. We are standardizing processes and in our information systems that are sustainable over time and across organizational change. I come to help and assist in the best manner possible to adapt, improvise, and overcome. I see that as a theme across this Partners in Action forum these coming weeks. And I think that through being actively engaged in standardizing and knowing what our tribal nations need, the policies at the national level ensures that these strategies and services are in alignment with the opportunities that are faced before each and every one of us. To realize those efficiencies and operations that are captured, providing each of our leaders the decision-making tools that is not only strong in the data, but rely upon our official systems of records to provide that attention needed at our president's office. Once we become able to focus on improving the data information, our system delivery, we will gain the expertise and understanding what our tribal nations need. With that, I would like to thank you all again for having me a part of this Partners in Action. I'm here throughout these sessions. You can ask me questions. I'm going to share in the chat a Trust Operations newsletter so that you can know and understand what we are doing to support the boots on the ground for the highest and best use to trust land and promote positive stewardship of resources and the delivery of those results that matter to you all the most. So with that, I want to thank you for your time and wish you all the best. And feel free to reach out to me, and I will also be available by email and by phone if you need to contact me. Thank you all. I wish you all the best. Miigwech, hi hi.
Thank you, Deputy Director Blackheart. Our next guard securing the perimeter, the one that takes a long shot, is the outside threat. He's an enrolled member of the San Carlos Apache tribe in Arizona with ancestry from the Gila River Indian community in Arizona, the Shoshone-Bancock tribe in Idaho, and the Ute tribe in Utah. He holds a bachelor's degree in family and human development and a master's degree in school administration and supervision from Utah State University. He holds a master's degree in social work from the University of Utah. Prior to his assignment, he was a regional director for the BIA Navajo region. He has also served as the Deputy Bureau Director, School Operations for the Bureau of Indian Education from 2014 to 2016. He has worked as a superintendent of the Bureau of Indian Affairs, Uintah, and URAE agency in Fort Duchesne, Utah. Additionally, he worked as a regional director for the BIA's Navajo Regional Office in Gallup, New Mexico. He has served for over 2 years, from 2014 to 16, as superintendent for the Bureau of Uintah and URAE agency in Fort Duchesne, Utah. Prior to that, he worked for the Bureau of Indian Education, serving in various leadership positions. Since 2016, including Deputy Bureau Director of School Operations and BIE Associate Deputy Director, Acting Associate Deputy Director East, Acting Associate Deputy Director West, Acting Associate Deputy Director Navajo, where he was responsible for the line management, direction, and supervision of 16 education line offices, overseeing BIE-funded schools in 23 states. He officially began his new role in June of 2021. A warm welcome to the BIA Deputy Bureau Director, Field Operations, Bart Stevens.
Good morning, and thank you, Scott, for that introduction. Again, my name is Bart Stevens, Deputy Bureau Director, Field Operations. It's definitely an honor and a privilege to be able to come before you all and share some of my expectations and my goals and objectives in terms of managing field operations. I too want to thank you all and the committee and everyone else who had a hand in pulling together this conference. I have to admit, this is the first time that I've participated in a conference in this way, but certainly we've been forced to adapt in this age of the pandemic to still get our work completed, our message across, while staying safe. I really appreciate hearing the kind words that were conveyed to the Creator on our behalf this morning. Very heartfelt and very much appreciated, and I wanted to thank you for that. Definitely the appropriate way to start things off, as well as that with the flag song and the veterans bringing in the colors for us as we stand in respect and reverence for their sacrifices that they put forward in behalf of the United States. I want to share a few things about my approach in this position. As was in the introduction, I'm fairly new to this position. My predecessor, Mr. Jim James, retired at the beginning of the year, and I then transitioned into this DBD role in field operations, which provides leadership to the 12 regional directors, and certainly appreciate this opportunity to serve in this capacity. What I bring forward in terms of field ops, we have many different priorities. We are the for lack of a better word, the conduit between the field where the majority of the work happens. The majority of the employees for BIA are in field operations, with serving it from the regional offices on down to the agencies and so forth. So we serve as a conduit between central office, trust services, Indian services, and the programs that they oversee, and then how we go about executing the boots on the ground work with tribes in those local communities and meeting those needs. But I want to say first that in this role in in-field operations, our commitment to not just the initiatives of this administration, but to those of tribal communities, and understanding the relationships that need to be built there, the trusting relationships, mind you. Certainly there have been, throughout time, different issues and concerns that have been raised in what the BIA does and how we go about doing our business. And I think now more to the forefront than ever before is our ability to work shoulder to shoulder with tribal leaders. And I say that because that's been my mantra since joining the government. I'm probably the one with the least amount of years, but nonetheless, I think have just as much drive and commitment to serving Indian country. Born and raised on the reservation and spending most of my life, like many of us have, on the reservation and dealing with and living among our friends and relatives in Indian country. And then it even extends further in my adult life across Indian country and the things that I do with my family, with powwowing and ceremonies and our friends and families and extended friends and families throughout Indian country. So I definitely share that caring and understanding to do the best work that we can for those local communities. And by standing shoulder to shoulder, what I'm referencing is that oftentimes there are policies, there's statutes, there's regulations and things that guide our work going forward. And oftentimes we tend to get those policies and regulations, although we follow the guidance and we stay within the parameters of how those are written, we can still stand shoulder to shoulder and, as Ms. Blackheart indicated, get to a point where we're not just following the rules and doing work in the right way, but we're able to understand the needs of Indian country and look at the guidance, the regulation, the statute, the policy, standing shoulder to shoulder with our tribes and getting to a point where we can maneuver within that to get to the point where we can best serve Indian country and still meet those requirements. And I pride myself on being able to do that in my past and still being able to move forward with that. And with that becomes, as I've said, the need or the accomplishment of building that trusting relationship with tribes. One of my mantras also is, always saying what I do and doing what I say. And I encourage the people that I work with to do the same. I believe in transparency and not just saying a word that we can that comes to mind because it's a popular key term, but meaning it and not having regrets in the decision making that we're doing and the services that we're offering to tribes. My leadership style that I'm anxious to bring to field ops and have been since I've been here, and did so since I've been in all of my careers actually, is building accountability. I think that we as servants, as stewards of the government, have a role and responsibility to be held accountable, to be responsive, and to be driven by to make decisions in the best interest of the communities that we serve. And I'm committed to that. And I'm in my work with field ops, with the regional directors that I oversee, along with my sister offices, with the Deputy Bureau Directors of Trust and Indian Services, and the central office and DASM and everybody, all our federal team in central office, is to convey that information and then drive that decision making again in those best interests in building that accountability. I know that there are issues and concerns that do arise from time to time. Just got off the phone dealing with several this morning, but nonetheless, our commitment, I think, to being responsive, to acknowledging the issues and concerns that are brought forward by the local communities and tribal leaders is one that we need to stand behind. And we need to be responsive in that by acknowledging those issues and concerns and then working towards a solution that I described earlier. So my approach to leadership is, again, setting those clear expectations. But also, in doing that, we also have to set our offices up for success. So because of that, it's driven me to engage, like with the Office of Human Capital Management and our other federal partners within the department, to allow that to happen, to make sure that our regions and our agencies and all of our personnel are first and foremost safe and secure in their work environment, but that they're also set up with the tools to be successful, whether that's just the knowledge and the skills that they need to move their work forward, but also the equipment and the connectivity that they need to still maintain that course during this age of the pandemic where we are on maximum telework, and being able that we don't drop the ball. And I love the analogy that Scott's using with the team, because that's exactly what I believe in as well. But we have to continue to that winning spirit and making sure that all of our people have that support moving forward. Several initiatives that were brought forward by Ms. Isom Kloss from that remain and trickle down through Mr. LeCount, and down through my office, and then down to field operations and the RDs and agencies and everybody involved with that. Remain in place. Definitely meeting those priorities, and again, setting our staff up to meet those goals and objectives that are set by central office is paramount, and we're working towards that and accomplishing some great things. In closing, I just want to reiterate my commitment to improved communication, making sure that we are responsive, that we are building our capacity in line with the goals and objectives that tribes put forward that drive our work, and then expediting the processes to get to where we need to do to complete our work. I use a phrase frequently, and I stand behind it, where I strive to create a work environment that is not the BIA of our grandfathers. We all know where we've been, but we also know where we need to be. And I hope to bring that with my leadership style in meeting the criteria that I just referenced with expectations, communication, responsiveness, and accountability, to change that to be the new face of the BIA, to be one that is aligned not with just the goals and objectives of this administration, but creating those lasting, lifelong, trusting relationships to get the work done in the best interest of the communities that we serve. I was with education for many years. I am a little different when it comes to a federal employee, I guess. I joined the government later in my career after being a school administrator in the public school system, and then joining BIE when they were reorganizing in 2006. And I actually joined the government at a GS-15. I didn't have the opportunity to start at a lower grade and work my way up. I had to jump in and hit the ground running when I was selected, and I did that. And then quickly elevated to the Deputy Bureau Director of BIE, and now I'm the same for BIA. And I don't know of anybody else who's done it with both bureaus, so I certainly take pride in being able to influence change, drive work processes, and improve our overall performance of the work that we do, both in education and now within BIA. I always reflect on my life growing up on the reservation, both in Fort Hall, Fort Duchesne, and for a little bit in San Carlos, and knowing what our friends and relatives are dealing with, the lives that they have or don't have, and what can we do as federal leaders to improve the lives of our friends and relatives in those communities. And that's what drives me. In education, it was the same. I always used to reflect on, I used to say, the brown-eyed children in our schools. And I know we have others with different eye color, but nonetheless, what are we doing to serve students and the future generations to impact Indian country overall? And that drives me in doing the best work that I can do in my commitment to Indian country and making the decisions that I can to improve that. So that's my message to share today. I know I'm presenting later on today on the history of BIA and being able to delve deeper into the actual actions that we're doing and the processes and the work that is occurring at the regional offices on down to the agencies, and talk a little bit more in detail about that. And I hope you all will chime in or join us for that conversation and have a dialogue and being able to have an opportunity to answer any questions that you may have. So with that, Tammy, I want to thank you again, you and your team, for pulling this together. It's important to stay in contact and keep this line of communication going and being able to dialogue and answer questions. As I also say, I'd rather have accurate rumors floating around than inaccurate rumors. And I think the best way to do that is to communicate and to get solid information out that people can ask questions about, and we can continue the work going forward. So again, thanks, Scott, for that fine introduction. I know it's a little lengthy, but it happens. And thank you, everyone, for giving me this time and listening to me.
Thank you, Deputy Director Stevens. A dream team isn't made up of just BIA. We draw on all our federal partners. It is all about talent. In this well-oiled machine, the Dream Team Center is the best shot, great at blocking under the basket and protecting our net. He's a regional solicitor for the Department of Interior in Regions 1 and 3, based in Minnesota. His Twin Cities regional office staff provides legal services for the Midwest region of the Bureau of Indian Affairs and several other federal Interior Department bureaus. He is also Field Special Assistant to Secretary of the Interior, Deb Holland, for Region 3 in the Great Lakes region. He has experience working in 3 bureau offices of the Department of Interior. He began his career in the department as a seasonal park ranger for the National Park Service at Grand Portage National Monument in Minnesota. But he left that posting to attend law school and earned his Juris Doctorate from the University of Wyoming College of Law. Following law school, he immediately rejoined the Department of Interior as an attorney in the 1992 Solicitor's Honors Program in Washington, D.C. For 15 years, he worked as a staff attorney in Boise, Idaho, and Twin Cities, Minnesota, where he advised the Bureau of Indian Affairs, Fish and Wildlife Service, Bureau of Reclamation, Bureau of Land Management, and U.S. Geological Survey on a wide variety of legal matters. He also gained on-the-ground experience as a natural resource manager when he took a 9-year break from legal practice to serve as a Fish and Wildlife Service field office supervisor and a regional endangered species chief in Region 3. As regional solicitor for Regions 1 and 3, he's delighted to bring both his practical and legal experience to the job of Field Special Assistant to the Secretary. I'd like you to welcome the Field Special Assistant to the Secretary, Great Lakes Region, Tony Sullins.
Thank you very much, Scott. It's my pleasure and honor to be here. And in fact, it's always my honor and privilege to address this particular meeting of distinguished leaders throughout the, let's call it the Mid-North region. I agree with Director LeCount's new designation. That's a much better description. It's also a special opportunity for me to highlight the relationship that the Regional Solicitor's Office has with the BIA Regional Director. Tammy Poitra and her staff have worked closely with me and my staff for many years, and our partnership has never been stronger. And my goal and the goal of every one of my attorneys is to help Secretary Holland, Regional Director Poitra, and all of BIA to find a legal path forward, to implement their policy choices, to help them meet their obligation to tribes and to tribal people. Over the course of this conference, you're also going to hear from 5 of my attorneys in the Twin Cities office and 1 attorney from our Solicitor's Division of Indian Affairs in DC. And they will be speaking on a variety of important legal topics, IBA case law updates, wind and solar leasing, fee to trust, land acquisitions, etc. But again, I'm honored as regional solicitors to support Ms. Poitra and all of the leaders who put this together to help make this another successful Partners in Action meeting. I also want to note my work with Regional Director Poitra as Secretary Holland's Field Special Assistant for our region. For most of the pandemic, Tammy and I have met weekly with regional directors from every other DOI bureau in the Midwest. We shared ideas about how to provide services while keeping our people safe. We looked for ways to share resources. We looked for opportunities for all bureaus to more meaningfully engage with tribes and Indian people. And I want to share a quick word about one special project that Tammy Poitra and I worked on together, the Minority Serving Institutions Career Fair. You may notice that Tammy and I both are, at least I think you could see Tammy's background showing monarch butterflies and the heading for this particular career fair. It's something we're very proud of. We reached out to hundreds of colleges and universities in the country who serve large minority populations, and we spread the word that the Department of the Interior is a great place to work and that there is a place here for everyone. You know, not every young person in this country has the same opportunity to see the opportunities that exist for them. So here in our region, we were trying to do something about that. And to our knowledge, this was the first of its kind for the department. We had 440 participants in this career fair, representing 310 colleges and universities and 4 high schools. As part of this outreach effort to minority serving colleges nationwide, Tammy Poitra made sure that we reached out to tribally controlled colleges and universities as well. And 35 such institutions were contacted for the event. And I'm happy to say many of them registered and had students attend the career fair, including several here in our region. So it is my absolute pleasure working with Tammy and the other regional directors from all of the bureaus in our region on that project and others. And we're really hoping to see job applicants in the future from tribes throughout the region and throughout the country. I hope you enjoy speaking with the attorneys from my office in the coming sessions. They've worked very hard and they are among the best in the country at what they do. And I'm sure you will learn a lot from them. I'll close just by saying once again how honored I am to be here and what a special privilege it is for me to serve Secretary Holland and Regional Director Tammy Poitra. Thank you again.
Thank you, Field Special Assistant Sullins. Tammy, do you have any closing remarks before I get into the basic administration notes?
Sorry, my computer kicked me out for a minute and I just got back in again. But I do want to thank everyone again for attending today's conference. In action, and I know there's a huge benefit to our tribal leaders out there and really, you know, facilitating and building on our partnerships with them. And as Tony said just a minute ago, you know, we spent a lot of time and hard work, as well as you did, Scott, as you were the POC for the career event. And I know we do have a new program coming up for the BIA in August. To bring on and get new employees trained for leadership positions. So I really, you know, stress that during PA session and on the event that we had. We have the diversity and inclusion team from DC under the Secretary's office, and they will be presenting. So we're really excited about that. Also, at 1 o'clock, we were talking about, you know, how almost 200 years of BIA. If you haven't, us, and I'm looking forward to Partners in Action this year. Thank you, Scott, and I'll turn it back.
Thank you, Tammy. We've heard some great inspirational words today. We've got some marching orders. We've got priorities that provide intent and direction. Whether it's explaining that the youth is our future, our government, the priorities of fee to trust, all things that we need to make priority for our customers. We have over 700 participants in the course of this year's Virtual Partners Action. Each one of the sessions has a room attendant to help facilitate a smooth virtual conference. In front of you is part 1 of the script that you'll hear at every course. Our room attendants are to read this to you. I'm just going to highlight some of the key things here, just to make this more enjoyable for everybody. As a courtesy, we'd ask that everybody mutes their computers and their cameras are off when they're not speaking. The facilitators will watch and they'll try to mute the hot mics and take care of some of this for you. But it's respect. If we can try to take care of ourselves, it makes it a little easier for them. They'll demonstrate and show you how to mute and unmute with their screens. They'll show you the proper ways to do it. During the presentations, if you have any questions, use the chat box, raise your hands. We'll make sure you're heard and your voice is sounded. They will demonstrate how to raise their hands, how to put your hands down, everything you need. If you dialed in with a phone, *6 to mute or unmute. The options again will be monitored by our facilitators. We have attendees from multiple regions and many tribes, some not within the Midwest region jurisdiction. We all know the constant Indian country is that one size moccasin doesn't fit for everybody. Therefore, the information presented at the Midwest tribal or BIA staff, including national standard requirements, policy, and procedures, may include experience, guidance, and policy and procedures as established in practice specific to the Midwest region. Therefore, we do not claim to override the national agenda, policy, and procedures, and cannot be responsible for the deviation from another region or an agency within another region. If you are attending from outside the Midwest region, please contact your local BI office for any questions. The sessions all will be recorded and available for later use. If by chance you looked over the course catalog and there's a session that you absolutely must attend and you haven't registered, well, we provided that venue to have you the opportunity. The deadline was last week for registration, but just in case, there's an email address, Andrew Ainsworth, right there. He's a hard worker. And if it's at all possible, if he can get you into it, he will do it. But some of those courses are filled up. We got over 700 people participating. He will do his best and try his hardest. He's a good hard worker. He'll see what he can do for you. So now that we've got a little guidance out there for a virtual experience, we want to make sure that this year's 11th annual Partners in Action is the best you can. Pending any questions or concerns for me, that concludes our opening ceremony. And please enjoy the Partners in Action. All the sessions are recorded. And if there's that one you really wanted to get, and then Andrew says, oh, it's full, I can't help you out, they are recorded so you could see it at a later date. All right, so again, I'm Scott Cameron, your MC. If you have any questions, you can also contact me. We'll provide support for anybody as we can. Enjoy the conference and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.